Actually, botre porque un rating je. Hake pisti tum barante. Og sai khon jam kapir chota hai. Eto kaat kaise hote hain?
I don't know, Alex. I just feel like we're at different places in life, Sarah said, her tone soft but distant, like she was testing the water before she sank the knife. What do you mean? I asked, leaning forward on the couch, gripping the edge like it might hold me together. I mean, I want more stability. More security. You know, a real future, she said, twirling her hair, pretending to be casual, but her eyes were sharp, calculating. Security? Sarah, I work 2 jobs. I'm trying. You know I'm saving, trying to build something. I ran a hand through my hair, frustrated. I'm doing everything I can. She laughed, a small, hollow sound. That's just it, Alex. It's not enough. You're sweet and hardworking, yes, but I want someone who can give me everything I've dreamed of. A house, trips, designer clothes. A life people notice. I felt my chest tighten. You mean me? You're not noticing what I'm doing, what I'm trying to build. I notice, I need more. She avoided my gaze. I can't imagine spending the next 10 years scraping by. I shook my head, disbelief clouding every thought. Scraping by? Sarah, I've been working my ass off every single day. I haven't missed a shift, I've been learning, taking risks. I thought we were in this together. We were, she said, quietly. But I guess love isn't always enough, Alex. I've realized that. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. My throat went dry. My heart felt like it had stopped and then restarted in pieces. I wanted to argue, scream, beg her not to leave, but no sound came out. Alex. I've met someone, she added, almost in a whisper. He can give me what I want. I blinked. Someone? Already? My voice shook. How long have you been thinking about this? Not long. A few months, maybe. I didn't plan for it to happen so fast. But I can't ignore it anymore. I wanted to laugh. Not the kind that shows amusement, but the kind that screams disbelief and despair. Months? Sarah, we've been together 5 years. 5 years. And now you decide that all that time wasn't enough? I'm sorry, Alex. She sounded rehearsed, like she'd said it 100 times in front of the mirror. Sorry? That's it? You think sorry fixes this? I could feel tears burning my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not yet. Not in front of her. I can't do this anymore, she said, standing up. Her eyes were dry, her tone steady. I need to live my life differently. I hope you understand someday. Understand? How could I understand that the person I loved more than anything had just evaluated me like a checklist and found me lacking? How could I understand that love, all this time, had been conditional? I can't believe this, I said, voice breaking, though I tried to keep it steady. You're just leaving. Just like that? She nodded. I think this is best. For both of us. For both of us? I laughed bitterly. Best for who, Sarah? You. You're the one walking away from everything we had because it doesn't come in a gold-plated box. She winced, but didn't argue. I'm sorry, Alex. Truly. I didn't mean to hurt you, but I can't. I can't settle for what you have. I felt something inside me shatter completely. All the plans, all the dreams, all the late nights working to build a future we talked about, it felt meaningless. As if every sacrifice, every compromise I made, every ounce of my heart I gave her, had been measured and found insufficient. Insufficient, I muttered to myself, tasting the word, letting it burn. All those nights I stayed late at work, all those times I saved instead of spending, and it wasn't enough. She looked at me with that gentle, distant look, like she still cared but not enough to stay. Alex, you'll be okay. You're strong. You'll find someone who appreciates you the way you are. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake her until she realized what she was doing. But instead, I said, almost in disbelief, "You don't know what you're saying. You don't know me, Sarah. You think I'm weak? That I'm not enough? You've underestimated me my entire life." She shook her head. "No. I need what I need. I'm sorry." I watched her walk out the door. Every step she took was a hammer striking my chest. My apartment felt too quiet, too empty. I sank into the couch, my hands trembling. I replayed every conversation, every moment we had together. Was it really all conditional? Did she love me, or did she only love the idea of me when I fit her picture of a man? 5 years, I whispered to myself. 5 years, and it comes down to money. I hated her for it. Hated myself for letting her measure my worth with someone else's checkbook. But underneath that hate, there was a strange clarity. I realized that if I wanted respect, if I wanted love that wasn't transactional, I'd have to build it myself. Nobody would hand it to me. Not Sarah. Not anyone. The apartment felt colder now, shadows stretching across the floor as the sun set. I could still hear her voice in my head, "Love isn't enough." I clenched my fists. It will be enough. Someday, it will be enough. And when it is, you'll see. You'll see that what you walked away from was worth more than anything you thought you deserved. I felt the sting of tears, but also a flicker of something else. Anger. Determination. A fire that wouldn't let me stay broken. I called Amir that night, my best friend, my sounding board, my only lifeline. "Amir. I think she just ended me," I said, my voice low, hoarse. "What happened, man?" he asked, concern thick in his voice. She said I wasn't enough. That I couldn't give her what she wants. And then, she left. Damn, Alex. I'm sorry, man. That's brutal, he said. I can't stop thinking about it. I keep replaying everything. Did I miss something? Could I have done more? Alex, you can't change her. You can't control what people value. But you can control what you do now. I swallowed hard, trying to absorb his words. I know, but it feels like everything I worked for, every dream, just evaporated. Not everything. You're still you. Still capable. Still strong. And I'm here. I've got your back. I nodded, though he couldn't see me. Thanks, man. I just needed to hear that. After we hung up, I sat alone, staring at the ceiling. I felt hollow, betrayed, humiliated. But beneath it, a small seed of something unrecognizable yet powerful began to grow. I'll show her, I whispered to the empty room. I'll show everyone. Not because I want her back, but because I deserve better than this. And in that quiet, dark apartment, I realized something I hadn't admitted to myself before. Love had not been enough, but ambition, determination, and resilience, that just might be. I couldn't stop thinking about her. Not because I wanted her back, that fire in me had grown, but because I kept seeing her smiling at someone else, laughing like I'd never existed. I scrolled through my phone again. Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. Every post, every tagged photo screamed it. Sarah was with Daniel. He had the expensive car, the perfectly tailored suit, the kind of smile that made people believe he owned the world. And apparently, Sarah had chosen him. Aren't you going to stop obsessing over her? Amir's voice cut through my thoughts when he called that night. I can't help it, I admitted. My voice was tight. Everywhere I look, I see her. And him. That smug asshole. You mean Daniel? Yeah, he's rich. But you're better than you were. Stronger. I laughed bitterly. Stronger? Maybe. But right now, all I feel is small. Invisible. She's living the life I wanted us to have together, except she didn't earn any of it. She just picked it up like it was on a tray. You're letting her control your thoughts, man. That's on you. I know. I know. I snapped, then immediately felt guilty. I just can't stop replaying it. Seeing them together, all those gifts she posts, trips, dinners, shopping. It's like she's trying to rub it in my face. You're imagining things, he said calmly. She's living her life. You're living yours. Focus on that. Focus on mine, I muttered, staring at the picture of her holding Daniel's arm at some gala. She looked radiant, happy. I remembered a time when that smile was for me. My chest tightened, and a bitter taste filled my mouth. Alex, you need to breathe, Amir said, patient. You can't control what she posts or who she's with. You can control what you do next. What can I do? I asked, voice low. I feel like I've been erased from her life, like everything we had meant nothing. Not nothing. That's in your head. She chose differently, yes, but that doesn't erase your time together. And it doesn't erase your worth. I sat in the dark, phone in hand, scrolling through her feed again. Worth, she made me feel worthless. 5 years, Amir. 5 years, and it comes down to a richer man. That's her choice, not your failure, he reminded me. I slammed the phone down. But it hurts. It hurts like hell. I know it does. That's normal. But you can't stay here. You can't sit in your apartment replaying every post and every moment. You have to live, Alex. I don't know if I can, I whispered. Everywhere I turn, it's them. Smiling. Laughing. Living the life I thought we'd have together. You can, he said firmly. You will. You're smarter than this. You'll find your own way. I wanted to believe him, I really did. But right now, my stomach was tied in knots, my chest tight with jealousy and shame. Every image, every video, was a punch I couldn't dodge. Do you remember the cafe we used to go to? I asked suddenly, almost to myself. The one on 5th? Yeah. I went there today, just to see if I could feel normal again. But they were there. Sarah and Daniel. Sitting at our table. Laughing. Amir was silent for a moment. Then, softly, that must have been hard. You have no idea. I could feel the bile rise. I wanted to scream. I wanted to walk up and tell them both that she didn't get it right. That I could have given her everything she ever wanted in ways she didn't even see. But you didn't, he said. No. I didn't. I sank back into the couch. I just watched. Watched them, smiling, while I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Good. That means you're stronger than I thought, Amir said quietly. Stronger? I feel broken, I muttered. I feel smaller than I've ever felt. You're not broken, Alex. You're angry. Hurt. And that's okay. But don't let it define you. I can't help it, I whispered. Every post, every picture, every damn happy smile she's posting, it's like a reminder that I'm nothing compared to this new life she's chosen. You're not nothing, he said firmly. And this isn't about her. It's about you. Right now, your job isn't to compare. It's to rebuild yourself. To focus on what you can control. I don't know if I want to rebuild, I admitted. Not yet. I want her to know. To see that I was worth something she ignored. That I can surpass all this. Amir didn't respond right away. Then he said slowly, then do that. But not for her. Do it for yourself. Prove it to yourself first. The rest will follow. I closed my eyes and imagined it. A life where I wasn't looking over my shoulder, where I wasn't measuring myself against someone else's choices. A life where my work, my decisions, my effort actually mattered. But the jealousy, I said aloud. It's eating me alive. I can't just be happy for her. I hate seeing them together. Then don't watch, Amir said simply. Step back. Stop comparing. Focus on what's next for you. Stop letting her happiness dictate your pain. I wanted to argue. Wanted to shout. But deep down, I knew he was right. Watching her live the life she chose, laughing with the man she picked over me, that was poison. I couldn't keep drinking it. I sat in silence for a while, replaying the last moments I'd had with Sarah. The way she'd said I wasn't enough. The way she'd smiled at Daniel. The hollow, rehearsed apology. I'll be honest, I finally said into the phone, voice barely above a whisper. I'm angry. And I'm hurt. But I think I can turn this into something. I don't know what yet. But I can feel it. I can't explain it, but I won't stay broken forever. Good, Amir said. Good. That's the first step. Feeling the fire is important. Now you have to learn how to use it. Use it for what? I asked. For yourself, he said. Not for her, not for him. For you. Build. Grow. Get stronger. Let her see that what she left, she can't measure. I hung up, staring at the ceiling. The room was quiet, but my mind was anything but. I could feel anger, jealousy, and shame swirling inside me, but underneath it all, determination. I wanted to prove something. Not to Sarah, not to Daniel, not to anyone else. But to myself. To show that my worth wasn't defined by someone else's choices. That my dreams, my effort, my life, still meant something. And as I sat there, alone, staring at my phone, I realized something else. Something terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. I was just getting started. I hadn't slept properly in days. My apartment felt smaller, suffocating almost, like every wall was closing in, mocking me. I kept thinking about Sarah, about Daniel, about the life they were flaunting on social media. Every post felt like a punch I couldn't dodge. Aren't you going to eat something? My mother asked over the phone, her voice soft but worried. I'm not hungry, I lied. I'll be fine. Alex, come on. You can't just starve yourself because of a breakup. It's not just a breakup, I snapped, then immediately regretted it. It's everything. 5 years, Mom. 5 years, and she just tossed it away. Like it was nothing. I know it hurts, she said gently. But you're stronger than you think. Your father used to say that the lowest point builds the strongest spine. Remember? I swallowed hard, my throat tight. I remember. But it doesn't feel like strength right now. It feels like emptiness. Strength isn't about feeling good, Alex. It's about getting up even when you don't feel like it. I hung up and sat in the dark, thinking about her words. My father's voice echoed in my head, too, don't let anyone measure your worth. Build it yourself, and the world will follow. The apartment phone rang again, Amir this time. Alex, how are you holding up? He asked. Not well, I admitted, voice barely above a whisper. I feel lost. Small. Like everything I worked for, every sacrifice, every late night, it's all meaningless. Don't say that, he said firmly. You're not meaningless. You're in pain, yes. But that pain, it's fuel. You just have to decide what to do with it. I don't know if I can turn it into anything, I muttered, pacing the room. I feel broken. You're not broken, he said. You're angry. Hurt. That's different. And that's okay. You're allowed to feel that. But don't let it define you. I can't help it, I said, running a hand through my hair. Everywhere I look, I see them. Every gift, every trip, every damn photo, it's like a reminder that I'm nothing compared to him. Then stop looking, Amir said simply. You can't change her, Alex. You can't change him. You can change yourself. Focus on that. I sighed, collapsing onto the couch. Focus on myself, easier said than done. You're right. It's not easy. But nothing worth having ever is. I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. Every memory of Sarah, every smile, every touch, every whispered I love you, felt tainted now. The life we planned, the dreams we shared, it was gone. And yet, deep inside, a flicker of something strange had begun to glow. A fire I hadn't recognized before. I hate them, I muttered aloud. I hate that she chose him. I hate that I feel this small. I hate everything. You're allowed to hate, Amir said. But don't stay there. Use it. Channel it. You can't fight the world with anger alone. You fight it with action. I think I get it, I said slowly. I can't control them, I can't control her, but I can control me. My life, my work, my choices. I can build something she can't take away. Something no one can. That's right, he said. And you're not alone. I've got your back. Every step of the way. I closed my eyes, feeling a strange combination of exhaustion and determination. Every step, okay. I can do that. The next morning, I woke up before dawn, a list forming in my head. Work harder. Learn more. Take risks. Build. I skipped breakfast, skipped the news, skipped everything that didn't move me closer to a goal I couldn't fully see yet, but I could feel it. I called my first client of the day, my voice steady, despite the tightness in my chest. Good morning. Alex speaking. I wanted to discuss the proposal we talked about last week. Yes, Alex, the client said. I was hoping you'd call. I have some concerns. I listened carefully, addressed every point, and by the end of the call, they sounded impressed. I hung up, heart still pounding, and felt something. A small spark. A reminder that I wasn't powerless. Later that afternoon, I met with Mr. Khalid, a gruff, demanding mentor I'd been lucky to connect with. "Alex, you're late," he barked as I walked into his office. "Sorry, sir." "Won't happen again," I said, bowing my head. "Good. Look, I have a new project. High stakes. High pressure. Can you handle it?" I can," I said. My voice sounded firmer than I felt. He narrowed his eyes. "Can or will?" "Will," I said immediately. He leaned back, studying me for a moment. "All right. I'll give you a chance. Don't screw it up." "I won't," I said, leaving his office. As I walked down the hallway, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks: control. Not over anyone else, but over myself, over my choices, over my destiny. I realized that if I wanted respect, if I wanted to prove anything, I had to start here. With me. That night, I called Amir again. "I met Mr. Khalid today. He's giving me a chance at a big project." "See?" Amir said, voice bright with encouragement. "That's the spark I was talking about. You're moving forward." "I know," I said, leaning back in my chair. "It's just, I keep thinking about Sarah. About Daniel. About everything I lost. It hurts. I can't shake it." "You don't need to shake it yet. Feeling it is part of the process. Just, don't let it paralyze you. Channel it." "I'll try," I said. I want to build something they can't touch. Something they'll regret underestimating." "That's the spirit," he said. "Not for them, Alex. For you." I stared out the window at the city lights, my reflection staring back at me. The man looking back wasn't the same as the one who had called Amir 2 nights ago, drowning in despair. He was sharper, angrier, more focused. He still hurt, but now that pain was fuel. I remembered my father's words again: "The lowest point builds the strongest spine." And for the first time, I understood what he meant. It wasn't about feeling strong, it was about rising despite feeling weak. About taking every ounce of pain and turning it into power. I pulled out my laptop and started drafting plans. Skills I needed to learn. Contacts I could reach out to. Projects that could make a difference. Every keystroke, every line I wrote, felt like a step toward reclaiming myself. Hours later, I leaned back and rubbed my eyes. Exhausted, yes, but also alive. For the first time since Sarah walked out, I felt like I had a purpose beyond heartbreak. Something tangible. Something I could control. I whispered to myself, quiet but determined, "I'll prove it." Not for her, not for Daniel, not for anyone else. I'll prove it for me. And when I do, they'll see. Everyone will see. And for the first time, I felt a flicker of hope, a small flame in the darkness of everything that had gone wrong. A fire I intended to feed until it burned brighter than any pain Sarah had ever caused me. I remember the first time I realized people were underestimating me. Mr. Khalid handed me a project worth more than I had ever dealt with, and I could feel the doubt in his eyes as he explained it. "You understand what's at stake here?" he asked, leaning over his desk. "I do," I said. My voice firm, steady. "I won't let you down." He snorted. "We'll see. Most people in your position would screw it up." I wanted to snap back, to tell him he was wrong, to scream that I was capable. But I didn't. I nodded instead. I'll get started immediately. As soon as I left his office, I called Amir. He doesn't believe in me, I said quietly. Of course he doesn't, Amir replied. Doesn't mean you can't prove him wrong. I know, but it's frustrating. Every time I take a step forward, I feel like the world is waiting for me to fall. Good. Let them wait. Let them doubt. That just makes the victory sweeter when you succeed. I smiled grimly. He was right. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into the project. Nights blurred into days, but I didn't care. I didn't eat properly, barely slept, and barely spoke to anyone outside my apartment. I stopped scrolling through Sarah's feed, couldn't let that poison touch me anymore, but I kept hearing her laughter in my head. Alex, you're working too hard, Amir said when we met for coffee one evening. You need a break, man. I don't have time for breaks, I said, stirring my coffee absently. This project, it's everything. If I screw it up, I'll never get another chance like this. You'll get another chance, he said patiently. But don't burn yourself out. I'm not burning out, I said, though a yawn betrayed me. I'm focused. By the end of the month, the project was done. I presented it to Mr. Khalid, who barely glanced at it before raising an eyebrow. Huh, he said, flipping through the documents. Not bad at all. Thank you, sir, I said cautiously. Not bad is an understatement, he muttered, almost to himself. This is impressive. Where did you learn to do this? I just figured it out, I said. Humph, he grunted. Don't expect applause. Just results. That's all that matters. I nodded. Understood. And that was it. No congratulations. No claps. No acknowledgement beyond a grunt and a skeptical glance. But that didn't matter. The work spoke for itself, and quietly, I felt a surge of satisfaction. I had done it, without anyone cheering me on. Without Sarah noticing. Without anyone giving me credit. I started to notice other things too. People who had ignored me, dismissed me, or treated me as small began calling me for advice, invitations to meetings, collaborations. I could feel a shift, subtle but undeniable. I was no longer invisible. You're changing, Amir said one night, when we met at our usual diner. I can see it. People notice. I don't want people to notice, I said, pushing my plate away. I want to be competent. Strong. Independent. That's enough for me. You're lying to yourself, he said, grinning. You like that they notice. You like that they respect you now. I frowned, then laughed quietly. Maybe a little. See, he said. It's not about them. It's about you proving yourself. And you're doing it. I looked out the window at the city lights, feeling a strange mixture of pride and emptiness. Success had its own loneliness. It didn't fill the gaps Sarah had left, didn't erase the sting of betrayal, and didn't make me immune to the memories that haunted me. But it was mine. Entirely mine. Weeks turned into months. I expanded my skills, learned new strategies, and took on bigger clients. Each time someone doubted me, I worked harder, stayed later, and delivered better results. I didn't need recognition, I needed results. And slowly, the results started to accumulate. Alex, how do you do it? A colleague asked me during a team meeting. You're so consistent. Everything you touch turns out better than expected. I don't know, I said, shrugging. I just try. Try, she said, laughing. That's an understatement. You're relentless. Relentless. I liked that word. It suited me. Not angry or bitter, just unstoppable. At night, I still thought about Sarah. I couldn't help it. I still remembered her words, her judgment, the cold way she told me I wasn't enough. But now, those memories fueled me instead of breaking me. Every late night, every missed meal, every exhausting hour spent building my future. I whispered to myself, you'll see. One day, she'll see. You talk about her a lot, Amir said when we met for dinner one night. Can't help it, I said, pushing my food around my plate. She was part of my life. And she made me feel small. I can't just erase that. You don't need to erase it, he said. You just need to be better than it. Better than her expectations. Better than her choices. Better than anyone else thinks you can be. I nodded, swallowing hard. I will be. I don't know when it'll be enough. Or if it'll ever matter to her. But it matters to me. That's what counts. And it did. Every project, every challenge, every late night spent working alone, it mattered. Not to impress anyone else, not to make Sarah jealous, not to prove a point. It mattered because I was building myself. I could feel the change happening, almost like a slow, steady burn inside me. My confidence grew, subtle but undeniable. People treated me differently now, not because I demanded it, but because I carried myself differently. I didn't need approval. I didn't need validation. I needed results, and I was delivering them. You've come a long way, Amir said one evening, watching me finalize a presentation. I'm proud of you, man. Thanks, I said quietly. I didn't feel like celebrating. I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. I thought about Sarah again, briefly, and felt nothing. Not anger, not longing, not jealousy. Just clarity. I realized that what I was building wasn't about her, wasn't about Daniel, wasn't about proving anyone wrong. It was about me. My dreams. My life. My worth. And the best part? I was finally in control. No one could measure me anymore. No one could decide what I was worth. Weeks later, a friend mentioned Sarah at a party I didn't even attend. She had posted another photo with Daniel, all smiles and expensive jewelry. I didn't feel the old pang of jealousy. I didn't scroll. I didn't care. I whispered quietly to myself, I don't need to care. I'm moving forward. I'm unstoppable now. And they'll see. They'll all see. And with that, I turned back to my laptop, to my work, to the life I was quietly, relentlessly building. No claps, no applause, no recognition, but satisfaction? Real satisfaction. And that, I realized, was better than any validation I had ever sought from anyone, including Sarah. I never expected to see her again, not like this. Not at the kind of high-profile event where the air smelled of expensive perfume and ambition. I was there for business, of course, representing my latest project. But the moment I stepped into the grand hall, my heart nearly stopped. Sarah. She was laughing at something Daniel said, tilting her head back like she hadn't a care in the world. The same smile that had haunted me for months. But now, I wasn't the broken, powerless man she dismissed. I straightened my back, took a deep breath, and reminded myself that this wasn't about her. Aren't you staring? Amir's voice snapped me out of my thoughts. I'm just noticing someone I used to know, I said, brushing it off, though my stomach twisted. You mean Sarah? He asked, arching an eyebrow. Maybe, I admitted quietly. You okay? He asked, concern hidden behind a grin. I will be, I said, though the tightness in my chest disagreed. I walked toward the registration desk, pretending not to care, pretending my pulse wasn't racing. But when I turned, she was closer than I expected, standing at a table with Daniel. She didn't recognize me at first. Of course not. I'd changed. The sleepless nights, the stress, the work, it had shaped me. I wasn't the same Alex she had dismissed so easily. Excuse me, I said softly, leaning toward the receptionist. Where's the table for guests of the college group? The one right over there, she said, gesturing. I walked toward the table and noticed Sarah again, her eyes scanning the room. She smiled briefly, a polite, distant smile that didn't reach her eyes. And I realized, she had no idea I was here. I sat down across from Lena, a young professional from another company I was partnering with. She was sharp, observant, and entirely uninterested in my personal life, exactly what I needed right now. You okay? She asked, noticing the tension in my shoulders. I will be, I said, trying to sound casual. Just seeing someone from my past. Someone famous, she teased lightly. Infamous, maybe, I muttered, keeping my gaze on the table, ignoring the echo of memories Sarah brought with her. Then it happened. Daniel leaned over, speaking to her. Do you know that guy? Sarah froze for a fraction of a second. And I saw it, the flicker of recognition. But she brushed it off, turning back to him, smiling. She didn't say anything. I wanted to reach out, confront her, make her see who I had become. But I didn't. I stayed quiet, observing. Watching. Listening. She seems different, Lena said quietly, nudging me. Not in a bad way. Different? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Confident, she said. Not the kind of person who lets anyone push her around. I smiled slightly, appreciating her perception. Yeah. I've learned a few things over the past months. Sarah's laughter rang across the room again, and I felt a pang in my chest, not the old ache, but a sharp reminder of what used to be. You okay? Lena asked again. I am now, I said firmly, meeting her eyes. I'm focused on what matters. Focused. That word echoed in my mind. I was no longer powerless, no longer defined by someone else's choices. I was building, growing, controlling my destiny. And she had no idea. A waiter approached, taking our orders, and I kept my gaze on the table, avoiding hers. I could feel her looking at me, but I didn't give her the satisfaction of recognition. I wasn't here to compete. Not yet. You're quiet, Lena said. Planning world domination or something? Something like that, I said, leaning back. You have to be quiet sometimes to do things people won't notice. She laughed, and for a moment, I felt normal again, not haunted by the past, not tense from old memories. Then Sarah's voice cut through the murmur of the room. Alex? My head snapped toward her, my heart skipping a beat. She was standing there, hands lightly clutching her purse, eyes wide, clearly trying to process the man in front of her. Yes? I said calmly, leaning back in my chair, smiling just enough. It's you, she said slowly. I didn't recognize you at first. You look different. Different? I asked, curious now. The different or bad different? She hesitated, glancing at Daniel, who looked confused. I I mean, you look successful. Confident. I didn't expect this. I chuckled softly. Neither did I. You've changed, she said quietly, almost as if she was trying to convince herself. I have, I admitted. Changed a lot. Built a lot. Learned a lot. But I didn't come here to prove anything. I'm focused on my work. That's enough for me now. She faltered. I didn't expect to see you here, looking like this. I know, I said gently. You didn't recognize me because I'm not the same man you walked away from. She swallowed, and I could see the tension in her shoulders. She wanted to say something, apologize maybe, or justify her past choices. But she didn't. I'm sorry, she said finally, almost whispered. I didn't mean to. Don't, I interrupted softly. Don't waste your words on apologies that won't change the past. It's fine. Really. But. She started again. Stop, I said firmly, but not harshly. We both made choices. You chose your path. I chose mine. And I'm doing fine. Better than fine, actually. Her eyes widened, realizing that I wasn't the same man she thought she left behind. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Daniel shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tension. Hello, he said awkwardly. I nodded politely. Hello. Sarah looked at me again, silently studying me, like she was trying to measure if the man before her could be the same one she had judged so quickly months ago. You're impressive, she finally admitted, almost reluctantly. Thank you, I said, calm, almost indifferent. I'm glad you think so. But I'm not impressed by the life you chose either. Just moving on. Her lips pressed together, and she looked away. She realized, in that instant, that the power dynamic had shifted. I was no longer the one waiting, hoping, struggling for her approval. I had built myself quietly, invisibly, while she was still trying to measure worth through appearances. I returned my attention to Lena, who gave me a small, approving nod. She understood. She didn't need explanations. Can I join you? Sarah asked hesitantly. I shook my head. No. You can't. She blinked, hurt flashing across her face. Alex. I said no, I replied firmly. I'm focused on my table, my work, my life. I suggest you focus on yours. Her lips pressed tighter, and she nodded silently. Without another word, she turned back to Daniel. I could feel her disappointment radiating, but it didn't affect me. I had already won in my mind. Not through revenge, not through confrontation, but by proving, silently, relentlessly, that I had built something she had underestimated. Amir leaned over, whispering, You handled that well. I did, I said quietly. No anger. No need to prove it. Just, reality speaking for itself. Lena smiled. I think you've just redefined silent power. I chuckled softly. Maybe. It feels good. I glanced across the room at Sarah again, watching as she realized, finally, that the man she had dismissed was no longer someone to overlook. That I had grown, achieved, and evolved without her involvement or recognition. And I smiled, a small, quiet smile. Not out of malice. Not out of gloating. But out of satisfaction, peace, and the growing realization that my life was mine, completely, undeniably mine. No claps, no applause, no validation from her or anyone else. Just me, my work, my determination, and the quiet power of proving myself without saying a word. I never believed in karma before. At least, I didn't think it mattered in real life. But watching Sarah over the past few months, seeing the cracks in her polished world, I started to understand. I got a text from Amir late one night. "You won't believe this. Sarah's company just hit a major scandal. Investors pulling out. Her project's failing." I stared at my phone, a strange mix of satisfaction and disbelief washing over me. "No way," I whispered aloud. She actually messed up?" "Yep," he replied instantly. Apparently Daniel didn't tell her half the financial risks. She trusted him blindly. Classic case of overconfidence. I leaned back in my chair, letting out a slow breath. Overconfidence. That sounds familiar. "You're thinking what I'm thinking?" Amir asked. "I don't want to think about it," I admitted, though I already was. The next day, I heard through the grapevine that Sarah had been called into multiple meetings. Her usual confidence, the air of superiority, all seemed gone. I could almost picture her, the woman who had laughed at my efforts, now scrambling to salvage her reputation. "You look amused," Amir said when we met for lunch. "I'm not amused," I said, stirring my coffee. "I'm intrigued. There's something satisfying about watching someone realize that choices have consequences." "Ah, so you're saying it's justice?" he asked. "Not justice," I corrected. Reality. She built her world on appearances and someone else's resources. Now, she has to deal with the fallout herself. Amir grinned. "I think that's the closest you'll get to karma." Weeks passed, and I started hearing more. Her investors were furious. Daniel was panicking, trying to salvage his image while blaming her for mistakes she didn't fully understand. Meetings were tense, partners were skeptical, and the empire she thought she had was crumbling. "She seems stressed," Lena remarked when we met for a strategy session. "Understatement," I said. "Her whole world is unraveling. And she's realizing now that it takes more than charm and money to hold things together." "You sound satisfied," she said, raising an eyebrow. "Not satisfied," I corrected. "I'm focused. I'm just observing. It's educational." Late one night, I got another text from Amir. "Sarah just tried to contact you." I stared at my phone, my pulse quickening. My fingers hovered over the screen. Should I respond? Should I ignore it? "Don't," I muttered aloud. "This isn't about her. It's about me." The next day, I overheard colleagues talking about a conference Sarah had been forced to attend. She tried to maintain her usual composure, but it was obvious she was flustered. Her speech was hesitant, and questions she usually answered effortlessly left her scrambling. I couldn't help but think back to the day she told me I wasn't enough. The sharpness of her words, the coldness in her eyes, the way she measured my worth against someone else's bank account. And now? Reality had caught up. Amir called that evening. I saw her today. She looked different. Broken, almost. Not physically, but, you know, the aura. "I know exactly what you mean," I said. "It's like watching someone finally understand that the world doesn't owe them anything. That they have to earn respect, effort, results." Exactly. And it's happening slowly, painfully. She's learning the hard way. I wonder if she even realizes it, I mused. If she understands that life doesn't give handouts just because she expects them. "She'll realize it," Amir said firmly. "Just like she realized she lost you." She's learning lessons the expensive way. I smiled faintly. Lessons. Expensive lessons. A week later, I bumped into her at a networking event. She looked me in the eye, and for a brief second, I saw a flicker of recognition. Not admiration, not respect, but awareness. Alex, she said cautiously, voice soft. I didn't expect to see you here. Neither did I replied, calm, composed. You're handling things well? I'm managing, she said, not quite meeting my gaze. Managing? I asked, raising an eyebrow. That doesn't sound very confident. I'm learning, she admitted. I realize now that things aren't as simple as I thought. Yes, I said quietly. They're not. Life isn't simple. It's earned. Through effort. Through dedication. Through choices that actually matter. Her lips pressed together, and I saw her pause. She wanted to respond, justify, apologize maybe, but the words didn't come. You've changed, she finally said. You seem different. Stronger. I've learned a few things, I admitted. About myself. About life. About what actually matters. You weren't supposed to grow like this, she said softly, almost incredulously. I wasn't growing for you, I said firmly. I was growing for me. And that's enough. Her eyes widened, realizing that the power dynamic had shifted completely. She had underestimated me once, measured my worth incorrectly, and now she was watching someone she had dismissed quietly become unstoppable. I see that now, she whispered. I made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, I said, calm but unyielding. But it's what you do after that matters. I chose to focus on growth. You chose to measure me instead. Daniel shifted beside her, looking uncomfortable. Alex, maybe. I'm not here for you, Daniel, I said softly. Not you. Not her. Not anyone. I'm here for me. My life, my choices, my results. That's all that matters. Sarah's face flushed, and she looked away. She realized what I had learned months ago. Love and charm are nothing without effort, skill, and integrity. You've really done well, she said finally, almost reluctantly. Thank you, I said. But I didn't do it to impress you. I did it to prove to myself that I could. That I'm worth more than someone else's judgment. She nodded slowly, finally silent. I could see the wheels turning in her head. For the first time, she was confronting reality. Not the fantasy she had built with Daniel. Not the illusion of status and wealth. Reality. And I felt something unexpected, calm. Peace. Satisfaction. Not from revenge, not from seeing her stumble, but from knowing I had built myself quietly, invisibly, without needing to prove anything to anyone. I hope you find what you're looking for, she whispered. I already have, I said softly. I didn't need to look for it anywhere else. I built it. She hesitated, then left. I watched her go, the tension between us dissipating, replaced by clarity. I was no longer the man she measured and found lacking. I was someone complete, someone unstoppable, someone who had learned that life's currency isn't wealth, or charm, or appearances, it's effort, resilience, and growth. Amir leaned over, whispering as we walked away. You did well today. Calm, composed. No arrogance. Just quiet power. I guess, I said, letting a small smile form. It feels satisfying. Not the way I thought it would, but satisfying. Good, he said. That's how it should feel. Not about her, not about anyone else. About you. Exactly. That's what it was about. Me. My life. My choices. My growth. And karma, if it was real, was just a side effect. Because the truth was, the most powerful revenge wasn't in confrontation. It wasn't in shouting or proving her wrong directly. It was in becoming someone she couldn't ignore. Someone she hadn't prepared to face. Someone unstoppable. And I was that person now. I never imagined it would feel like this, watching her scramble, knowing she was finally seeing the consequences of her choices while I moved silently, steadily, toward everything I had dreamed of. The funny thing was, I didn't need her approval, but her awareness of my success. It made the victory sharper. I was at a gala celebrating a major business milestone. My company had just secured a deal worth more than I had ever imagined when I started this journey. And, as fate would have it, Sarah was there too, seated across the room, looking elegant but tense. Amir nudged me as we walked through the crowd. See her? I see her, I said calmly, letting my eyes meet hers for just a brief second. She looked smaller somehow. Not physically, but the aura was different. The confidence she had flaunted before was cracked, tempered with doubt. She looks, Amir began. Fragile, I finished. Not weak, just realizing life isn't as simple as she thought. Sarah caught my gaze, and I noticed the hesitation in her smile. The recognition. And maybe even a hint of regret. I turned to greet a client, shaking hands, answering questions, discussing future projects. My focus was absolute. I didn't need to flaunt my success. It showed itself naturally, in my confidence, in my calm demeanor, in the respect people around me were giving. You've changed, a colleague whispered as we moved past a cluster of guests. You're different. Commanding. I smiled politely. Thank you. Inside, I felt a thrill. This was power without arrogance, influence without shouting. And she noticed. I could feel it. Later, Sarah approached, Daniel trailing behind. She stopped a respectful distance away, unsure. Alex, she began, voice cautious. I didn't expect to see you here. You've done well. I have, I said, nodding slightly. Thank you for noticing. She looked down, twisting her hands nervously. I wanted to say. I realize now I misjudged you. I shouldn't have. You shouldn't have what? I asked softly, keeping my tone calm, measured. Underestimated me? Measured my worth by someone else's money? She flinched slightly. Yes. I see that now. Good, I said quietly. Because the world doesn't hand respect or success to anyone. You earn it, or you don't. And I've been earning mine quietly, steadily. No shortcuts. No reliance on someone else's status. Daniel, who had been silent until now, cleared his throat. Alex. I mean, she didn't. I'm not here for him, I said sharply, just enough to make him step back. Or for her. I'm here for myself. My life. My work. My results. Sarah's eyes flicked up at me, and I saw something I hadn't expected, vulnerability. Not the kind of vulnerability that begged for pity, but the kind that comes from realizing someone you dismissed quietly surpassed your expectations, and without your help. I wanted She faltered. Stop, I said gently, but firmly. Don't waste words. You made choices. I made mine. That's the difference. Her lips pressed together, eyes flicking toward Daniel, who looked frustrated now. You've done everything, yourself? Yes, I said simply. Every late night, every project, every challenge, mine. Built with effort, patience, and persistence. No shortcuts. No reliance on anyone else. She swallowed hard. I didn't realize. Exactly, I said softly. And now you do. The realization, it's painful, isn't it? Yes, she admitted, voice barely audible. I see now. I could feel the weight of her words, but I didn't need to respond with anything more. My success spoke louder than anything I could say. I let the silence carry the message. A waiter approached, offering drinks. I accepted politely, then turned back to her. I hope you understand something important, I said quietly. Respect, influence, success, they're not given. They're earned. And underestimating someone? That's a mistake you only get to make once. Sarah nodded slowly, and I could see the flicker of shame mixed with regret. She wanted to argue, to justify, to explain, but she couldn't. The truth was undeniable. I had grown beyond her measure. Beyond Daniel. Beyond the life she thought she could compare me to. You're impressive, she said finally, quietly, almost reluctantly. Thank you, I replied, calm. But I didn't do it to impress you. I did it to prove to myself that I could. That I'm worth more than anyone else's judgment. She flinched slightly at the words, realizing that they weren't empty bravado, they were truth. Daniel stepped closer, trying to interject. Alex, maybe we can talk. I'm not here for him, I said, louder this time, making it clear. Not him, not her, not anyone. I'm here for me. And that's enough. Sarah's eyes softened, just a little, as if she understood finally that the power dynamic had shifted. She had underestimated me, dismissed me, measured my worth by external factors, and now she was watching the man she once scorned walk among people who respected him, and she couldn't change it. You've really done well, she admitted again, softer this time. Thank you, I said, letting it hang. I wasn't mocking. I wasn't gloating. I was simply acknowledging reality. I had worked, struggled, built, and endured. And she had to witness it without me needing to fight for her recognition. She looked down, twisting her hands again, then straightened. I hope you're happy. I am, I said honestly. And I'm still growing. Still building. Still focusing on what matters. Her gaze lingered on me a moment longer, then she turned, leaving Daniel behind. I watched her go, feeling no bitterness. No longing. Only clarity. Only peace. Only the quiet satisfaction of someone who had built themselves while others waited for validation. Amir leaned over, whispering as I watched her leave. You've done it. Calm, composed, silent power. She can see it now. No confrontation necessary. Yeah, I said quietly. It feels different than I expected. Not sweet. Not vindictive. Just satisfying. Peaceful. Exactly, he said. That's the way it's supposed to feel. Not about her. About you. Your growth. Your life. I nodded. The truth hit me fully. Revenge wasn't about causing pain. It wasn't about confrontation. It wasn't even about recognition. It was about becoming someone no one could dismiss, someone no one could underestimate, someone unstoppable. And I had done that. Quietly. Relentlessly. Silently. I turned my attention back to my colleagues, the gala, the future I was building. Sarah's presence no longer dictated my thoughts. Daniel's smugness no longer bothered me. What mattered was the work I had done, the life I had built, the person I had become. And for the first time in months, I felt truly free. I never thought I'd see the day when my life looked like this, an empire built quietly, meticulously, from late nights, early mornings, and sacrifices no one noticed. And yet here I was, standing in the corner office overlooking the city skyline, the same skyline that had once felt so out of reach. "Alex," Amir said, coming in with his usual grin. "Can you believe it? You did it. All of it. You're unstoppable." "I don't feel unstoppable," I admitted, leaning against my desk, watching the city lights shimmer. "I feel satisfied. Calm. Focused. Not because I won, but because I built this, without waiting for anyone's approval." "That's true power," he said. "And guess who's here to see it?" I turned to see Sarah standing just inside the door, Daniel nowhere in sight. She looked nervous, vulnerable even. Not the confident, dismissive woman who had told me I wasn't enough 5 years ago. No, this was different, an acknowledgement she had underestimated me and a silent plea for recognition. "Alex," she began, voice hesitant. I didn't expect to see you like this." "I've changed," I said simply. "Not because of you, not because of anyone else. I've built my life. My success isn't about proving anything to you, it's about proving it to myself." She swallowed hard, taking a step closer. I see that now. I made a mistake back then." "Maybe," I said, keeping my tone calm. "But mistakes are only lessons if you learn from them." "I've learned plenty." You've done everything yourself?" she asked, incredulously. "Yes," I said. "Every project, every deal, every challenge, I handled it all. Without shortcuts. Without relying on anyone else. And it feels good." She nodded slowly, finally quiet. I thought. I didn't realize." "You thought wrong," I said softly, almost kindly. "You measured me by money, by status, by appearances. And you were wrong. But that's in the past. I've moved on. Built something no one can take away." Her eyes flicked down, and I saw the subtle flash of regret. She wanted to say something else, maybe apologize, maybe explain, but the words failed her. I wanted. She faltered. "Stop," I said gently but firmly. "Don't waste words on what you can't change. Focus on your path. That's all you can do now." Her lips pressed together, and she finally nodded. No more words. No excuses. No attempts to reclaim what she lost. She had learned, painfully, the difference between someone who builds and someone who waits for opportunities handed to them. "You've really done well," she said softly, the words careful, deliberate. "Thank you," I replied, letting the acknowledgement hang. "But I didn't do it for you. I did it for me. That's all that matters." She looked at me again, longer this time, and I realized something. She was seeing the full extent of what I had become. Not just success, but independence. Confidence. Resilience. A man who no longer needed validation from anyone else, including her. I I hope you're happy, she said finally. I am, I said honestly. More than I've ever been. And I'm still growing. Still building. Still focused on what matters. That's the difference between us now. She swallowed hard, taking a step back. I understand. I hope you know You don't need to say anything else, I interrupted softly. I've already built everything I need. Your recognition, your approval, it's irrelevant. I'm my own measure of success now. For the first time, I noticed a change in her posture. She straightened, but the confidence wasn't there. The realization that she had underestimated me, and that it could never be undone, hung in the air. Amir, who had been quietly observing, leaned over and whispered, "You've handled this perfectly. No bitterness. No arrogance. Just undeniable presence." "Thanks," I said quietly. "It's strange, satisfying, but not in the way I imagined. Not about proving her wrong. It's about knowing I've achieved it on my own terms." Sarah took a deep breath, as if finally accepting reality. I made choices," she said softly. "Choices that I can't undo. And you proved me wrong without even trying to." "Yes," I said. "I didn't need to prove anything to you. I built my life, my empire, my future. That's proof enough." She nodded again, then paused, as if searching for something else to say. Finally, she admitted quietly, almost reluctantly, I see it now. I understand. I underestimated you." "Better late than never," I said calmly. "But recognition isn't what I wanted. I wanted results. And I got them. That's all that matters." She looked at me one last time, eyes reflecting a mix of regret and understanding. Then she turned and left the office, leaving me with a profound sense of closure. I sat back in my chair, letting the silence settle around me. No gloating. No anger. Just clarity. Peace. Satisfaction. I had built everything quietly, without shortcuts, without relying on anyone else, and now the world, Sarah included, had to recognize it without me asking. Amir clapped me on the shoulder. "That was perfect. You didn't need to gloat. You didn't need to fight. You just became unstoppable, and she had no choice but to see it." "Exactly," I said, finally smiling fully. "Not revenge. Not confrontation. Just growth. Effort. Persistence. That's the only way to truly win." Weeks later, I walked through the same halls I had once dreamed of entering, greeted by colleagues, clients, and partners who respected me, who sought my advice, who treated me as an equal, a leader, a force to reckon with. I didn't need Sarah's approval. I didn't need anyone's validation. I had built my own empire, and it spoke louder than any words ever could. Late at night, I'd think back to the day she left, the words she used, the coldness of her judgment. And I would smile quietly, not with malice, not with revenge, but with peace. The peace of knowing I had become someone she couldn't ignore. Someone she had underestimated. Someone she could never hold down or control. And that, I realized fully, was more powerful than any vengeance. More satisfying than any confrontation. More liberating than any apology she could ever offer. I had grown. I had built. I had become unstoppable. And I didn't need her to acknowledge it. Because the empire I built, silently, relentlessly, and on my own terms, spoke for me. And finally, I was free. It's quiet now. The city hums below me, distant lights flickering like stars, and I sit in my office, thinking about how far I've come. Funny, 5 years ago, I would have never imagined this. Back then, I thought love, loyalty, and hard work were enough, but I learned the hard way that the world doesn't measure worth that simply. Amir's voice comes from the doorway. Deep in thought, I see. I'm just reflecting, I say, leaning back in my chair. Thinking about how everything fell into place, and how much effort it took to get here. Yeah, he says, walking over and leaning against the desk. It's incredible. You've built something no one expected. And the best part? You did it without bitterness. That's rare. I smile faintly. Not without moments of doubt, anger, or pain, but yes. I focused on growth, not revenge. I realized that satisfaction comes from building your own life, not tearing others down. Amir nods. Speaking of others. Sarah? I glance at the skyline, letting the silence answer him. I saw her a few times after everything unfolded. She's changed. She's learning, probably painfully, that life doesn't hand out rewards to those who rely on appearances or someone else's status. But I don't dwell on her anymore. That chapter is closed. Good, he says. That's what I wanted to hear. You're living on your own terms now. Yes, I say quietly. And it feels liberating. I don't need approval, applause, or recognition from anyone else. I just need to know I'm honest with myself, that I'm building what I'm meant to build. Amir smirks. Sounds like you've finally found peace. I think I have, I admit. But peace didn't come from success alone. It came from realizing my own worth, and refusing to let anyone else define it. Not Sarah. Not Daniel. Not anyone. We sit in silence for a while, letting the city lights speak for the life I've created. The empire I've built isn't just numbers or deals, it's resilience, focus, and persistence. Every late night, every challenge, every risk, it's all visible in the calm, steady pulse of my life now. Do you ever think about what might have been? Amir asks carefully. I shake my head. No. I think about what I've built, what I've become. I don't regret the past. I learned from it. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every moment of doubt shaped me into the person I am now. If anything, I'm grateful for those experiences. They pushed me harder, forced me to grow. Amir nods slowly. That's wise. Most people never get that clarity. I look down at my hands, thinking of the years I wasted trying to please someone who didn't measure worth the way I did. I wasted time caring about her opinion, caring about recognition, caring about validation. But now, I don't. I only care about results, growth, and the life I'm building for myself. That's enough. Amir grins. And it's working. People respect you. They follow your lead. You're unstoppable. Unstoppable, I repeat quietly. The word tastes different now. Not arrogance, not pride, just truth. I am unstoppable because I don't rely on anyone's approval. I am unstoppable because my focus is unwavering. I am unstoppable because my foundation is strong. We fall into conversation about future projects, expansion, and strategy, and I realize something important. The best revenge, the best triumph isn't in confrontation. It's in building, growing, and thriving while others watch, powerless to stop you. Later that evening, I walk through the office floor, greeting employees, sharing ideas, mentoring young colleagues. Their respect isn't forced, it's earned, and it feels real. It's proof that my life now speaks louder than words ever could. I think briefly about Sarah again. Not with anger. Not with longing. But with a quiet acknowledgement that she was once a catalyst for my transformation. If she hadn't doubted me, dismissed me, measured me wrongly, I might not have discovered the depth of my own strength. Amir nudges me lightly. You're smiling. Don't tell me you're feeling sentimental about her. I'm not, I say, laughing softly. Just reflective. She was part of the journey. And every part of the journey matters. True, he says, clapping me on the shoulder. But you've earned the ending you wanted. You built yourself. She's just part of the story now. Exactly, I agree. Part of the story, nothing more. I lean back in my chair, letting the hum of the city fill the room. The office is quiet, the empire I've built stretches around me, and I feel the weight of every choice I've made. Every sacrifice. Every late night. Every moment I could have given in to bitterness, but didn't. That's when I understand fully, my life is no longer defined by anyone else's measure of worth. It's defined by mine. By the effort I put in. By the choices I make. By the resilience I've built. And that clarity, that understanding, is liberating. Amir grins at me. You're really at the top now. But it's more than money or status. It's who you are. You're a force. I say quietly, letting it settle in my bones. And no one can take that away. I glance at the door again, thinking of Sarah, of Daniel, of the people who underestimated me, ignored me, or doubted me. And I feel nothing but peace. No anger, no resentment. Only the satisfaction of knowing I've become the person I was meant to be. You ever think about love? Amir asks after a pause. Sometimes, I admit. But love is different now. I know what I deserve. I won't settle for less. And I've learned that love isn't validation, it's shared growth. If it comes, it comes. But I'm complete on my own. Sounds like wisdom, he says. And you've earned it. I have, I agree. Through hardship, betrayal, heartbreak, and effort. Every moment has been a lesson. We fall silent again, letting the office, the city, and the life I've built speak for themselves. Every desk, every project, every light flickering in the distance is a testament to the man I've become. Not perfect. Not flawless. But strong. Resilient. Unstoppable. And finally, at last, I realized that the real victory wasn't in proving Sarah wrong. It wasn't in witnessing karma or her regret. It was in proving myself right. It was in building a life that couldn't be shaken by judgment, betrayal, or doubt. That's the kind of victory that lasts. The kind of satisfaction that no one can take away. Amir glances at me one last time. You're ready for anything now. Whatever comes next, you'll handle it. I will, I say firmly. Because I've already handled everything that mattered. And now, I'm free to live, to grow, to create, without anyone else defining my worth. He nods, satisfied, and leaves me to the quiet hum of my empire. I look out at the skyline again, city lights sparkling, possibilities stretching endlessly. And I know, without a doubt, that this is only the beginning. I built myself. I survived betrayal. I conquered doubt. I've reached the top, not through shortcuts, not through validation, not through revenge. But through effort, focus, and unwavering persistence. And now, I am truly unstoppable.